welcome everyone a new episode of Money Means Business. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of our program in 2025. We wish that the coming year is going to bring us prosperity, welfare, security and peace not only to Egypt but to the Middle East and to the whole world. Today we are going to continue covering together the efforts exerted by the state to attract more investments and to have the harvest or the fruits of those endless efforts, not only to help those SMEs here but also to continue with developing our infrastructure and to attract foreign direct investments, to attract investors from all over the world in many sectors, in all domains, to invest here in Egypt and to turn Egypt into an investment hub. This is going to be a win-win situation, and efforts are still going on. It's very small steps but in a very long journey. Thank God they are until the moment that's successful, and we are going to continue in the very right track. Right after the short break, we are going to return with my dear guest live here in the studio to speak in more details about all this, so stay tuned.
The Egyptian economy witnessed strong events in 2024, most notably major investment deals that reshaped the national investment map. Ras Al Hikma development worth $35 billion, the largest in Egypt's history. Last February, the government signed a deal for Ras Al Hikma City Development Project with the Emirati holding company worth $35 billion. As the largest investment deal in Egypt's history, which contributed to reviving the local economy. Under the deal, Egypt obtained $24 billion in foreign direct investment, in addition to converting $11 billion in the United Arab Emirates deposits at the central bank into investments, and Cairo receives 35% of the project's revenues. Last July, details of a project in the Northwest Coast region were announced, with a new investment partnership between the government and the private sector, signed by businessman Hisham Talat Mustafa. The year 2024 also witnessed the signing of 5 new agreements to search and explore for oil and gas, with total investments amounting to about $200 million. Egypt also witnessed significant activity in the renewable energy sector, as several agreements were signed to develop projects in the field of solar energy and wind energy, which enhances the share of renewable energy in the national energy mix. In contrast, Egypt witnessed huge investments from Chinese and European companies in the field of infrastructure, especially the development of ports, roads and railways to enhance transportation and trade capacity. The Suez Canal Economic Zone also witnessed a remarkable growth in investments, as the chairman of the Suez Canal Economic Zone laid the foundation stone for a project to establish a flat glass production line with a daily capacity of 1,000 tons and a photovoltaic glass production line with a daily capacity of 800 tons, with investments estimated at $300 million. Reports revealed an increase in the number of projects from July 2023 to May 2024 in the Suez Canal Economic Zone to 213 projects with an investment cost of $4.84 billion, reflecting the growing confidence of foreign investors in the region. During 2024, Egypt received about $46 billion in foreign direct investment, which enhances the increase in confidence in the national economy and the reforms that have been implemented to enhance financial stability and economic growth. In June 2024, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced that European companies had signed more than 20 new agreements in Egypt, with a total value exceeding 40 billion euros. According to data from the central bank, net foreign direct investment flows from Arab countries to Egypt amounting to $18.182 billion by the end of the third quarter of 2024, with Arab investments focused on several key sectors, most notably the real estate, and tourism sectors, as well as the financial and banking sectors and the industrial sector, with the aim of boosting exports and meeting the needs of the local market. On another note, the government has approved multiple incentives to encourage investment in the new administrative capital, with the aim of increasing the attraction of Arab and foreign investments and raising employment rates. Engineer Khalid Abbas, chairman of the board of directors of the Administrative Capital for Urban Development Company, announced that the company's assets have currently reached more than £300 billion, with revenues exceeding £75 billion. Regarding foreign investments, Abbas pointed out that the new administrative capital has become one of the most attractive cities for investments due to its advanced infrastructure, as it has witnessed foreign investments through partnerships with Egyptian and non-Egyptian companies. Dr. Muhammad Anis, an economic expert, indicated that the government has set a limit for the ceiling of government investments as a result of implementing many economic reforms that have taken place over the past 10 years through expanding government investment spending. Anis explained that the state has implemented many projects that require direct government investments, such as infrastructure development, which has contributed significantly to creating new job opportunities, as these investments are governmental and the private sector does not interfere in them. And it is natural that this stage will be followed by a general ceiling to open the door for the private sector to resume pumping its investments more intensively, noting that the major investment deals concluded by the state during the past period contributed to achieving balance for the Egyptian economy, pointing out that 2024 was the year of restoring the state's financial balance, as foreign dollar liquidity was provided in the markets and the inflation rate was reduced, which contributed to eliminating the black market for foreign currencies.
Welcome back, and before we start, let me first welcome my dear guest live here in the studio, Dr. Hanan Abdel Latif, our expert in international investment. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Hanan.
Thank you, Nermeen, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Dr. Hanan, as I said in my intro, we decided to dedicate this episode to investment efforts and to efforts exerted by the state to attract more foreign direct investment, and also to give a hand to all those new entrepreneurs, the businessmen, those startups who want to begin their career in this domain in specific, because simply as much as the mega development projects are very important, the SMEs or the macro projects are also very important. Let's give a title to the efforts exerted by the state, not only during 2024, by the way, but during the past decade: competitiveness and sustainability. Do you agree that those two words in specific should be the title of our efforts?
Definitely, yes, I agree. Because especially the year 2024 was very, very, very important to the economy, the Egyptian economy, and the investment. The increase of the direct foreign investment was really clear as numbers of investment. I think it arrived, it got to be like $46 billion as foreign direct investment by 2024. Plus, we have many deals, many big deals with the European community and European countries, and that was in the mega projects, and the deals was about 40 million euros. That's a big number, to be honest. And in 1 year, compared to the last year, it means that we have progress and we have increase of the investment, clear, very clear, because the numbers are really varied. and especially our cooperation with the European countries in the field of energy, for example, infrastructure, the solar energy and the wind energy. And also this year was remarked by lots of mega projects in the railways, transportation in general, ports. So this is increase of the infrastructure, because this is encourage more investment. So when we invest in the infrastructure, of course it's direct increase the investment of Egypt. So I can see it very clear. Yes, there is a high progress and there is a success from the Egyptian country.
And to mention the two words I mentioned, competitiveness and sustainability, it means that for sustainability, the resilience of the Egyptian economy, it's not for today. It's for the coming generations.
Is it true?
And competitiveness, we are in such a world where there are many global changes and challenges in the same time. And when it comes to inflation, for example, it's not only a problem suffered by the developing countries, but developed and developing countries are suffering from the same, with different percentages, of course, but all the world is suffering from inflation. Let's talk, if you permit me, about the policy which was revealed by His Excellency Minister of Investment, Dr. Hassan Al-Khatib, when he said that Egypt's strategic advantages, including advanced infrastructure, new cities, qualified workforce, a large consumer market, central geographic location that facilitates the access to the Middle East, Europe, Africa, and Asia. How do you see this as sources of attraction to all kinds of foreign direct investment?
I'll tell you, Nermeen, Egypt, we cannot compare Egypt to any other country, not because it's our beloved country and we love our country. No, it's on the ground. It's a fact that all of what you mentioned, and plus that there is no country has all these privileges for the investment, the location, the number of people live in Egypt. We are about 130 million people. The big market, the location in Africa and in the world and in the Middle East, center point. Egypt is center point, Red Sea and Mediterranean. And also the facilitation started by the government, all these facilities started the digital transformation. That helped, by the way, in the investment a lot.
Sure.
We cannot compare Egypt to any country with the respect of all the other countries, but of course we have lots to attract. We have Suez Canal, the free zone area. We have lots of industrial areas. By the way, this year the government offered 1,000 opportunities to invest in the industrial zones. And that was, I think, in about 14 governorates of Egypt, in 17 industrial zones. So you can imagine how they are very, developing all the industrial communities and the industrial ideas as well. And also they offer about 450 pieces of land in the industrial zones for the investors. They had a website. They facilitate the regulations. So no, we are really doing very well in this level, and there is no competition because Egypt is Egypt, and Egypt, we have lots of things that we don't have it in the other countries. So we are different.
Amen to that. And to continue with what you have just said, because you mentioned a very important issue, which is our partnership with our allies, with our friendly nations. And you mentioned Europe, for example. And here I cannot forget mentioning the very important summit, let me call it this way, which took place here in Egypt, the Egyptian EU Investment Conference, which took place in, I think it was on the 29th of June. Yes. And the president was keen to meet with many heads of governments, with his counterparts, who came in specific for this reason, boosting trade and investment ties with Egypt. And I also I'm all the time call it this way, a win-win situation. how do you see the importance of this summit in specific, in addition to the agreements which were signed there and implementing them on the ground?
You said something very important, that the summit is very important itself, but the result of the summit is more important to us, because the number of the agreements were signed were very big, and this I remember that it was more about the trade between Egypt and these other countries, increasing the trade, because we have trade already with these countries shared in the summit, but up to the deals signed in this summit, it was the increase of the trade between us and these countries. And by the way, this has resulted in something really important, because up to the latest statistics, it said that Egypt, the value of the Egyptian export to all over the world, and especially the European community, just this year, 2024, it was about 140 million euros, which is bigger than any amount that happened before.
You know, I mentioned that, Dr. Hanan, because it was really amazing to find the variety of fields. We do have things in common between us and the Europeans. And I'm going to repeat that in one of the meetings, which were very important ones, because the president was gathering with Giorgia Meloni of Italy, with those ministers coming from Germany, Spain, you name it. And when they spoke, for example, about renewable energy, he said, okay, we can have mutual cooperation with that, but if you want to have a cooperation in solar energy, build here a factory for the solar panels. If you want to have wind energy, build here a factory for the turbines. So how do you see this? Because it's a combination between this partnership and localizing industry.
Localizing industries. I think President Sisi is pushing for that. And he's ordering all the authorities and the ministers, by the way, to locate some of the industries and to bring the investors to build the manufactories here, and to move this expertise and experience and the know-how, everything. This is much better and higher than to bring the tools itself. No, we have to make it partnership to manufacture the stuff. And by the way, this started in many things. Many Chinese companies also, beside the European ones, started to manufacture in Egypt and to build factories in Egypt and to move their expertise and their know-how in Egypt. So the President Sisi has a point of view. We cannot depend forever on the things that we import from outside, or one investor can invest for a while and then he leaves, for example, or move to another place, but we want this industry to be in Egypt, located in Egypt, and we get the benefit. And by the way, this is also very good to save some of the foreign currency, because when you manufacture your stuff in Egypt, we don't need to export, and this is very good to have the balance in the foreign currency in Egypt.
You know, I didn't mention China with the Europeans because this is how to diversify our resources. And China is included into the BRICS, in addition to our strategic partnership with China. But moving to the BRICS and having the speech even of the president for the very first time as a member of the BRICS, it was really sending a number of messages. Here I mean Brazil, I mean Russia, China, South Africa, India, and in addition to those countries who were included recently, just like Egypt. How do you see this, this vision of diversifying our resources, of taking into consideration that we should have the brightest results from our economic cooperation with countries all over the world, not only to focus on the West and leave the East, or vice versa? If you want to elaborate on that
I can
too.
find it very smart, to be honest, because depending on one source or two sources, this is not good for our economy, because when you have lots of sources, you have competition between them,
Among them.
among
Alone.
them,
Yeah.
to see who's doing more in Egypt, who's investing. And by the way, this has helped a lot, because you can see one country, without naming this country, they had a big deal in Egypt in November, no, actually in February this year, 2024, a big deal for investment in tourism and in the northern coast. And then right after, we had another country, they want to have another big deal in the northern coast. There is a competition among them, okay? So having this variety, it means that the countries are racing to come to Egypt to invest. When one another, they see that this country is investing. By the way, the Arabs, they have some investment in Egypt, and they compare themselves, oh, this is invested here, so I have to go and invest in the same area. Why not? It's opportunity. European countries, they have comparison and competition between themselves. So this is, by the end, we get the good result for us, because President Sisi, I always see him very smart in his point of view, when he doesn't focus in some countries
on one side and leave the other.
No.
And here also I should speak about transparency, Dr. Hanan. Transparency meaning that we should say whatever is going on the ground, and I think this was not the case a decade ago. But Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, after each visit or inspection tour to any industrial complex, he was very much keen to have a press conference and to say what was going on, and to tell the Egyptians what we were suffering from and what is the problem. We are working on solving it, whether it's with the investors, whether it's with foreign investors, with Egyptian investors, and even with our hard currency, with the customer, with the customs, you name it. How do you see this link?
I was very proud, to be honest, when he had his conference, his last conference with the biggest businessmen in Egypt, discussing very clear in the media, on air, live.
Yeah.
It wasn't in a hidden room. They discussed, and he asked them very clear, what problems do you face for your investment?
Yeah.
And by the way, it was a variety of the businessmen, and everyone was working in different, like construction, iron factories, blah blah blah, many activation or activities. So I have to tell you that was very good, and people like it very much. Why? Because we are facing the problem and we try to find solutions. We don't hide. Yes, we have about this one, and the business people, by the way, they were very clear, and he was listening, and he was
because they want to succeed.
This should be done. So I think this is a success for the government of Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, because for the first time to see this, Nermeen,
This is what I want to focus on, because simply when we decide what the problem is, when we know what are the obstacles on the way, we will be able to confront them and to solve them. And I also remember, I think it was only a month separating between two important visits by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli to Riyadh, to Saudi Arabia, and to meet with Saudi businessmen, to make sure that all obstacles on the way in front of them are going to be eliminated on the ground and on the spot. This is going to take me to, again, localizing industry, and to once again revitalizing our national brands. Simply, Dr. Han, when I know that in Nasr, the Egyptian Nasr Automotive Company is going to be back to work, I was very proud. How do you see this as only one of the examples we have, or the results of those efforts which took place in 2024?
Nasr cars and buses, Nermeen, if you think our generation, we used to hear about that we used to have Nasr cars and Nasr local buses and so on, and then gone. Now, to come back and to talk about it and to open the subject and to start already on the ground, this has never happened before in the last, last
4 decades or something?
Exactly. So this is really a remarkable sign in the Egyptian industry. And by the way, not just the buses and cars, not in us. Now we are manufacturing, or we started, to be honest, to manufacture the mobile phones in Egypt. And this is very good, because how much do we spend for all these cell phones that everyone is using in Egypt? Everyone is using in Egypt. How much do we have to pay for that, and how much customs we have to pay for that, and how much foreign currency spent to bring all these mobiles, the imported ones? Now we started some factories in Egypt with some of the partnerships from some other countries. They are specialized in this, to manufacture cell phones. I think this is the beginning. We will start to manufacture also some engines, by the way, shipping engines, and something higher than this. I cannot talk about it now, something military, for example.
I can mention what was agreed upon in the last European tour of the president, which took him to countries where it was the very first visit by an Egyptian president: Denmark, Norway, and Ireland. And since you mentioned shipping, for example, Norway and Denmark, they have such an experience in that, so we had signed agreements in this domain with them. And there is what we call the economic diplomacy. The economic diplomacy is really achieving a lot. And you cannot find the president having a meeting or a summit meeting with any of his counterparts, whether here or in their countries, without having this economic diplomacy. How do you see the care of the state, and particularly of the head of a state, to take this into consideration in any foreign visit?
Let me talk about this in a very clear way.
Sure.
President Sisi, since he ruled Egypt, he's trying to push Egypt forward. He's trying to push Egypt usually in any aspects and in any activity, but he knows that the strong country depends usually on the strong economy. He knows. He has a point of view. And when we have our resources in Egypt, we can get more strong. We are already strong, but he knows. And that's why he's taking care himself from all these relations and all these deals, and he's moving himself, he's attending himself. He can send, for example, like as it was before, one of the ministers, the prime minister, our great prime minister, but no, he's moving himself, he's meeting people himself, he's pushing himself, he's giving decisions himself. This is new in Egypt. I mean, in his era, this is very new, and this is very positive, because when you think that when the people also abroad, the investors, know and they can see that the president himself is encouraging.
And he is meeting himself with a CEO of an investment group, for example.
Of course.
As you've kindly mentioned, he could
say
or give instructions to one of the economic circle ministers to meet with the CEO, but he was really keen to meet himself with the CEO. I mean, this is only an example, but let's move to also localizing industry with using the local components, because there are such incentives given to manufacturers who are going to use or already use our local components with higher percentages to enjoy tax-free products, for example, or at least to give them incentives to all the time upgrade or increase the percentage of the local components used. This is also, I think, one of the achievements of 2024.
Yes,
if you agree with
yes.
me also on that.
To be honest, yes. And this is, by the way, let's say it's on the top of the achievement. Do you know why? Because the investment, we are always bringing investment in Egypt. Always Egypt is attracting foreign investment. Yes, this year it was higher, but always we are a center for big investment from all over the world, including Arab countries. But allocation of the Egyptian manufacturing and Egyptian products and Egyptian even the spare parts, you know, that we use to export spare parts for some of the engines, for some of the machines. I think this is the top of the achievement. This is number one, because, do you know, this is source of what? When you manufacture in Egypt, you get many good results. It's not just because you stop exporting this piece and you save some of your foreign currency. No, you start to import.
You start to export rather than import.
Exactly.
And also to meet with the needs of our local market.
Of course.
But here, I should say, if I were representing the private sector, you know, with all what took place on the ground, still the private sector is asking for more. And the president, the prime minister, or the ministers of investment and of finance, they are all asking the private sector to be engaged more and to have even the lion's share of the GDP in Egypt. Do you think that the percentage of the private sector share in our economic development is still that short and we need more?
Yes, we need more.
In your opinion, in what fields? Or in all fields?
To be honest, in all fields, we need more. I'm not saying that they don't have good share, but to push for more shares for the private sector, it will push the economy more, stronger, more stronger. And by the way, this is one of the points were discussed with the Prime Minister in the last meeting with the business people, that involve us more. They were not saying we are not involved. They are already involved, and they are, by the way, most of them, they share in the mega projects in Egypt and the national projects in Egypt. But to get the private sector more into more mega projects and more national projects in Egypt, that will support the economy, especially that they are experts, you know, and each of them has some experience, long experience in his field or his career. So we need to push more. Do you know, we have to be greedy when we talk about our economy. We need more. We need more. We are not usually, we are happy, but we are not satisfied. We need the ceiling higher and higher, because this is Egypt.
Sky is the limit.
And by the way, the President Sisi always, he's happy with what's going on, but he needs more.
No, I think he never said that he is happy with what's going on. He is always saying that a better model is there.
Exactly.
A better model can be achieved.
Exactly.
And he is not
looking forward all the time.
He was never satisfied with only planning, but no. To inaugurate a project, this is when he talks about this project. And to continue with our interesting discussion, I'm enjoying our discussion, by the way, let's move to another point, which is the reports released by the international economic entities about Egypt. I hear, and here I mean the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and in addition to Moody's, for example. Many reports said that they are expecting that the inflation is going to be reduced in Egypt remarkably in the very near future. And this is because of our economic reform program, which is taking place and continuing with that. How do you see this as another source of trust? Because when these reports are released, I think it's going to be another message to investors, then come invest here. Even those international entities are saying so and are admitting the fact that the Egyptian economy is resilient enough to absorb more investors and investments.
I will tell you, remember in November, last November, Fitch upgraded the credit line or the credit level of Egypt from B- to B. This is in November, 2 months ago. all this international organization, by the way, give the investors a big trust with our attraction of investment, of course. But we cannot deny that when we have some of the good reports from the very high-level international organization, that encourage people to come, because we are not saying that, they are saying that, you know. So this is a report. And this report is guarantee that we are doing well and we are improving and we are, you know, more stable than before. So Fitch changed it, upgraded really the level of the credit in Egypt from B- to B just last November, and some other international report. The investors, by the way, especially the foreign investors, not the Arabs, they are different characters and mentality. They look at these reports.
This is what I'm talking about, because with the meetings of President Sisi with Kristalina Georgieva for more than 2, I think, or 3 times during 2024, and the way she kept speaking about Egypt and about the reforms or the economic reforms which are taking place here in Egypt, I think this is very positive, and as you've kindly mentioned, as if it is dedicated to the foreign investors, because this is the way they trust, or they know that the atmosphere or the environment is paying for them.
Yes, of course. I want to tell you something here. Maybe it's sensitive, but let's do it because it has to be very clear to some of the people, and we have to make it clear for them. When Egypt was approved to get the last fund,
tranche of the loan.
Exactly, tranche of the loan, which is $1.3 billion.
$1.3 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the people were discussing, some of the Egyptians were discussing, we are taking loans, blah, blah, blah. No, they have to know that this is a sign of trust in the economy. They have to know it's not about the money, it's about the guarantee from this international fund that Egypt is stable enough so we can give to support the economy. They have to know that if we don't get this fund, this is very negative for us as a country in general. So they have to know this is very positive sign. And the Prime Minister was talking many and many times about this is not about the money, this is our credit in the international organization, this is our credit, this is the guarantee that we are safe, we are stable, we are many things. This is the credit and guarantee for any investor to come to Egypt. Because when they give these loans, they don't give it to any country if it is not stable, if it is not strong, if it doesn't have a good economy. So this is guarantee from them. So people, they have to understand this is very positive.
At a time that the government did not even for one day forget about the low-income brackets, and that Decent Life Initiative or Hayat Karima is still serving more than 15 million Egyptians nationwide, and particularly in the remote areas in the countryside. True?
True, very true. I can tell you that Egypt is taking care also, and this is new, by the way, in the era of President Sisi. We didn't see this before, Nermeen, that we are giving care to this level of the people that they need support and they need help. Hayat Karima is a model, by the way. It's a model, can be done in some other countries, and it supported millions of people, millions of the Egyptians. So it's not just about, you know, some certain levels of the Egyptians. No, it's about the social, the bottom even of the social levels of the Egyptians. Something else I want to add about the new capital. I think this is also one of the big achievements in 2024. I know that it started before that, but the progress in the construction and the infrastructure, now it's clear. You know, we used to see it under construction and part of it, and Now, when I saw it, when I visited the new capital last time, I was like, I'm amazed myself, you know. I was really proud. And I have to tell you that last month I took one of the investors to invest in Egypt, and he's from France, by the way. French people started to come, and he told me, Hanan, please take me to the new capital. I took him in a tour. For 2 months I didn't go there, so in 2 months for me, I found lots of changes. Like, what? Wow! What did they do? When? Because
And I promise every single day you are going to find another
I cannot
addition.
believe
This is exactly what we are talking about. Egypt 2030 is there by the very end of the tunnel. It's very close, and we are going to continue on the right track, inshallah, despite all the challenges we are facing. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. I enjoyed our discussion as usual.
Me
Thank
too.
you very much, Dr. Hanan. We
Thank
were
you.
very much delighted and honored to have with us live here in the studio Dr. Hanan Abdul Latif, our international investment expert. Thank you, dear. And
Thank you,
Happy New
Habib.
Year.
And same to you.
By this, we come to the end of our episode. But before we go, Egypt is the only country who is hosting more than 10 million guests, not refugees, and surrounded by all the challenges, and still we are keeping on the right track, because this is Egypt. As the President is always saying, when we are keeping our unity, then nothing can stop us. And I'm going to repeat that all the time. Well, I'm going to leave you now with the most important economic events which took place in the last 7 days. Till we meet again, same time on Nile TV International. Many thanks for watching. With all my love, this was Nermeen Abdurrahman.
Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources expressed its deep dissatisfaction with the publication of many false news in some media outlets about the Italian company Eni postponing the production of new quantities of gas from the Zohr field until May 2025 instead of January due to the unstable weather at sea during the winter. In this regard, the ministry confirmed the continuation of work with Eni without any delay to the previously prepared schedule. This is confirmed by the company's statements that the drilling ship is preparing to arrive in Egypt to start drilling operations in January using modern technologies with the aim of increasing production and returning to the approved production plans. Egypt continues its steps towards achieving a boom in the transportation industry, as the Egyptian National Railways Company plays a pivotal role in this field, as it signed a strategic partnership agreement with a South Korean company with a total value of $660 million. This cooperation aims to manufacture and supply 40 trains, 320 cars for the second and third lines of the metro, while working on localizing technology and training Egyptian cadres. Egypt achieved tourism revenues exceeding $14 billion in 11 months, with an increase of 7.8%, the highest revenues achieved during this period. This comes as a result of the increase in the number of tourists to 14.3 million tourists, with a growth rate of 3.97%, and the number of tourist nights to 151.3 million nights, with a growth rate of 7.8%. Experts expect revenues to continue to grow during the new year if the geopolitical situation in the region stabilizes. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli conducted an inspection tour inside the factories of the Misr Spinning and Weaving Company in the city of Al-Mahalla Al-Kubra, accompanied by a number of ministers and officials. Egypt aims during the coming period not to export cotton again, as the Prime Minister confirmed that local cotton production will be used primarily to operate new factories instead of exporting it as raw material, while maintaining the possibility of exporting to achieve economic returns. The Cabinet approved the draft decision of the President of the Republic regarding the free trade agreement between the governments of the Arab Republic of Egypt and the Republic of Serbia, which was announced during July 2022 and signed last June. The agreement comes within the framework of the two countries' desire to strengthen trade, industrial and investment cooperation relations between the two countries in a manner that opens up greater horizons for cooperation between the two countries. The Engineering Industries Export Council announced that the sector's exports increased by 21.6% during the first 11 months of 2024, reaching $5.1 billion compared to $4.2 billion during the same period in 2023. Among the most important sectors whose exports increased during 2024 until November are cables 32.7%, electrical appliances 6.1%, car components 15.5%, home appliances 4.6%, and finally transportation 92.4%. The African Development Bank expects the growth rate of Egypt's gross domestic product to rise to 4.5% in the fiscal year 2024-2025, in light of the improvement in the general economic context, indicating a recovery in the Egyptian economy during the coming period, driven by strong financial support from financial institutions, international and development partners, in addition to huge investments in important development projects. The Ministries of Finance and Communications and Information Technology announced the launch of a new electronic system to enhance governance and encourage and localize the mobile phone industry in Egypt. According to the statement, customs fees and taxes on imported mobile phones are as they are and have not changed, with every citizen coming from abroad being exempted from paying fees on one mobile phone for personal use during a transitional period of 3 months.